The Pirelli World Challenge has always been known for great sprint racing, flat-out 50-minute races with no pit stops. But 2016 has seen a new twist, the introduction of SprintX, a 1-hour race with a mandatory stop and driver change. We're in the high desert just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, for the second event of the inaugural Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championship, and it starts right now. Welcome to Utah and the Great Salt Desert for the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah Motorsports Campus, presented by EnergySolutions. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Calvin Fish. And Cal, we're getting set to start the second event in the third round of this new format. And thus far, after the opening 2 rounds at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the feedback from both drivers and fans, very positive.
It was a fantastic opening 2 rounds to the championship up in Canada. We come here, it's a unique format. You got the sportsman driver typically running alongside a pro, not in all cases. And then you've got the unique elements of this racetrack, 4,000 feet above sea level. That puts an added strength through the race car in terms of the cooling. Add to that, the driver's going to be a long, hot day.
A lot for them to wrap their heads around, including some of the unique regulations of this new format. For more on what SprintX is all about on that level, let's meet the third member of our broadcast team, Jeff Lepper.
Well, thanks, Greg. As mentioned, a 2-driver format for SprintX. 1 amateur, 1 professional. The amateur will qualify the car and start the race in race 1 with the pro finishing up. Kicker here for SprintX in race 2, the pro will start with the amateur finishing. You're allowed to change 1 tire if you choose to, and it's between 25 and 35 minutes is that pit stop that you must complete that by. There is also a pit delta time from the inches of pit lane to the extras of pit lane to complete your pit stop here for SprintX.
Well, thanks very much, Jeff. And the field now starting to line up in formation as we're ready to get to the green. Round 3 of the Pirelli World Challenge SprintX Championship about to unfold. And Cal, this field of 8 cars starting to form up very nicely into the final 2 corners, aptly named Wind Up and Release onto this front straight. And they are entering our VP Racing Fuels acceleration. Now, this should be a good run down into turn 1.
This should be great to see how everyone stacks up on pure acceleration here. Got James Burke on the pole in the Audi, screen right. Michael Mills, double winner at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but look through the middle. Big move there.
Preston Calvert trying to split the gap, and Brent Holden looking way down to the inside. The 2 Aston Martins comfortable in position right now in GTS. Question is, will Burke be able to hang on?
Looking
look
like
at
a
this
Mills.
move by Mills.
Oh, and look to the inside, the 23 car. Walt Boland wanted part of the action as well. Calvert runs wide in the dust there, struggling for grip now.
Boy, he wanted it. He gave it a go, but Calvert just floated a bit wide. But already out to the front, James Burke, who's got in his obviously a ton of laps here. He knows this track very well. So right now, Michael Mills and the guys behind him, including Brent Holden right now, they're going to have some work to do to stay with Burke, I think.
Well, no warm-up for James Burke. He knows the track like the back of his hand. 34-year-old Brit made the move to the States back in 2005 to work at the Ford driving school here. So he's got millions of miles here, literally. And he's got to chase out. Coming from behind, though, Michael Mills has cleared that traffic. Now he's just got to settle in. As we could see, that Z4 BMW, we've seen it race over the past 2 or 3 seasons here in the United States. It's really quick through the corners, but it does have a lot of drag.
Just had a nice shot of Brent Holden as we look here at Max Riddle as he leads Jason Alexandridis in the GTS division with Chris Beaufet in that red Racer's Edge Sin R1 GT4, third in the queue. And Max Riddle, and what we forgot to mention, we talked about the sweep that they had at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He also won one of the GTS races there, so 3 out of 4, not too shabby.
He was absolutely on fire there that weekend. He loves that racetrack, certainly. But hats off to Jason Alexandridis. He's really starting to show a lot more pace here. Here's a move. Preston Calvert eventually making that move there on Walt Boland. I think his tires are cleaned off and that Calvert Dynamics Porsche is coming to life.
Kind of get the feeling that Preston's absolutely motivated here after what happened with his primary ride. This is his chance to get out and race this weekend. As the 77 is done, he won't be able to run, and he wants to go out and just really get after it here. And I think he's pretty impressive. And as we watch him making his run down the straight, if you wonder what we're talking about and you haven't seen it yet, folks, here's a look, Cal, at what happened. And apparently it was an oil issue.
Yeah, an oil line issue. Andrew Davis said the car had started to slip and slide on him a little bit as early as turn 1 on that lap, and suddenly he had a major correction, looked in his rearview mirror and suddenly realized that the car was totally ablaze. And then, of course, it's tough to get those cars put out, so it was a major damage to that Porsche. I'm not sure that chassis will ever see further action. But look at this battle between the TRG boys. Max Riddle, Jason Alexandridis. Max having to use all of the road. Jason could tighten his hands and use less racetrack there and not lose any ground. So that's certainly a signal to me that the car's operating well.
This wonderful, tricky section of racetrack at Sunset Bend, turn 1, and then 2 and 3. It's just got a flow to it. And then you come out of this turn 4 and then hard on the brakes into the Black Rock hairpin.
Yeah, I really love the first sector of this racetrack. It's very demanding, good flow, good rhythm. And the Aston Martin's performing really well here today.
Absolutely, and of course Max Riddle, the co-driver that he'll be throwing to, one of the very fastest, Chris Wilson. Jeff?
Chris Wilson, you're won both rounds at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. You're on the radio with your driver Max Riddle. Business as usual for you as well here in Aston Martin?
Yeah, I mean, things are going well so far. He complained that the brakes aren't working quite as well as we could have, but you know, it's hot, it's altitude, we kind of expected that. So yeah, just try and keep the momentum going, win hopefully a couple more this weekend, and you know, be on the top of podium.
Well, a couple more little modest, as Max Riddle is also still competing in the GTS category, similar to what he did at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
And he showed some speed in qualifying earlier today, but I'll tell you, Chris Wilson, it's amazing when Max got sick earlier last year and wasn't able to get to all the rounds. They put Chris in the car and he went out and won 4 straight. That man is a gun. Action continues here in Utah. We're going to step away for a moment. When we come back, we're expecting those pit stops.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. And by the Cadillac V-Series, the first ever 464 horsepower 2016 ATS-V Coupe and Sedan, and the all-new 640 horsepower CTS-V Super Sedan. The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Modal, official lubricant of the Pirelli World Challenge. By BRM. And by Porsche. There is no substitute.
Welcome back to Utah, where the action is seriously heating up, folks.
Here comes Michael Mills.
He's in. Good call, going to Kuno, and the 2 Aston Martins stay out. All right, Jeff, here comes second place, Mike Mills, who is the point leader right now in, as we said, with those 2 wins, obviously, in SprintX GT AM category, making his way in.
The points are scored individually. Even though you're driving as a pairing, they're actually scored individually. So Michael will get second place points for when he made his pit stop right here, because he is behind James Burke. And remember, Kuno had that issue. They had to go to the back of the grid for the second round at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where driver change is happening.
Getting out here on pit lane, Michael Mills unbuckles the belts, undo the net, Kuno Whitmer climbing in. The driver that comes out can assist the driver going in. So you see Michael Mills trying to grab the belts to put those around Kuno Whitmer. They did jack the car up, did not, I'm trying to see if they changed the tire or not, and they did go ahead and put a brand new right front on this Mills Racing BMW Z4.
Walt Bolin coming in, and he'll be turning over to David Estella. He brings it in from 5th spot, and Preston Calvert is in as well, Jeff.
Yeah, Michael Mills gets in the car. He's already belted in. All they did on this Circle Porsche Calvert Dynamics is adjust the air pressures around all 4 of the tires. So different strategy here for this Porsche 911.
And right as he was getting ready to leave, Bolin came in, and a nice job there by Lewis to swing out. And I'm not sure how much experience Lewis had with driver changes, but that one looked very effective. Jeff, what's going on with the Audi?
Well, Walt Bolin hops out of the Tampa Bay jaw surgery Audi R8. And it looks like David Estella climbing in, and once again, the driver can assist the driver coming in. No tire change here, and really, they're only checking air pressures, not really checking anything else. So a little worrisome on making sure that everything's on the car, clean the front grille, but none of that down here on this team.
And it looks like Stella's on board, and the 09 Alexandridis is in, and getting ready to get on board that car. Derek DeBoer, a winner earlier this season as well in GTS.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see the battle between Chris Wilson and Derek DeBoer. Chris Wilson's been helping Derek DeBoer in terms of coaching and getting him fully up to speed. And here we see a little delay here. They were obviously had the stopwatch on. Remember, you're basically going to be stationary for 60 seconds. So if you get the driver change done in 30, you got to be on the ball in terms of not sending the car too quickly. I think they had the time set, but then suddenly they couldn't fire the car into life.
And in our overall race leader, James Burke is in. Jeff?
Yeah, James Burke did a great job, got out of the car. David Askew, they've run a few Enduros here at Utah at their home racetrack, so they have some experience doing the driver changes, did a good job. He's having a hard time resetting it to get the car started. And no, the hand is up in the air. The car will not refire. Heartbreaking right now for your GT leader. He's sitting there pushing the start button. You can get a good shot of it there. And Cal, I know there's always a process you have to do to get these cars to start.
Yeah, there is, and David Askew there, you can see his arms in the air. Something is amiss. They had the lead, and suddenly they can't get life into that Audi. You don't have to shut the engine down, so James Burke should have been able to come in, get the car in neutral, and have the car sit there idling, even though it's for 60 seconds. But maybe they were a bit concerned about the temperatures rising too much during the pit stop to do that, and had James shut it down. So some kind of issue here that they're trying to rectify. This is a heartbreaker for that team that came in to the pit stop with the lead. Kuno on a charge immediately.
And when he comes around, he is going to pick up the lead here as Askew still sits there. You can see the lights flashing, though. Sometimes that's an indication that it may have come to life, but apparently not. It still sits. So Whitmer going to be winging his way around the track. And also, let's not forget, Michael Lewis is going to be out there at some serious speed as well here. Oh, Cal, this is heartbreaking.
It is, and I'm a little surprised that there we see David Hikes, I believe, now going to have a chat with David Askew to see exactly what the issue is, and he's jumping out.
Meanwhile, in comes Max Riddle and Chris Wilson climbing on board, Jeff.
Yeah, they're jacking up the car. They're changing a right front tire for the crew here. Max Riddle very easily gets out of the car. Chris Wilson, nice and slow, very choreographed, putting the net down, plugging everything in, hooking the radio up, hooking the drink bottle up, and get back underway. They won 2 rounds already in a row. They're looking to make that 3.
And of course, there's the driver championships, as you said, Cal, that scored separately. But you take those 2 separate scores, add them together, that's your team points. And this team doing a great job. And they're taking a look at just at that left front, wondering if there's an issue there.
Yeah, I thought for a moment maybe they're changing both fronts. Yeah. So Max was certainly not happy with the handling of the car. Felt something was not quite right. So the crew are just checking it out. They'll give Chris that information as to if they did indeed find anything. I'm surprised they didn't go at the right rear and change that one, looking at what the car was doing out there.
It was interesting, too, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as they see the Audi still sitting there in the driver's meeting, and it was being explained that, you know, this delta plus the minute and all that. And some of the teams were going, yeah, but how do we do, how should we do that? And I think it was Jason Alexandridis said, well, what we're talking about is doing this. And Chris Wilson just looked over at him in the driver's meeting and said, don't tell him that. That's our secret here, buddy. But I'll tell you, a secret in terms of speed for the Racers Group Aston Martin team is Max Riddle. Jeff?
Well, Max Riddle, you pit in P1. The team jacked the car up, was checking the front of that car. Any issues?
Yeah, we got a small issue. The front camber screws come loose, so in every left-hand corner, the front wheel shifts a bit, the front right shifts a bit. And so going through the fast left-handers is a little scary right now because the car's not handling the way it should be. But if anybody can bring her home, it's Chris. So I've got a lot of faith in Chris, and I just hope it stays together for him.
And you can see there, he's really struggling, really wide there.
Boy. Could
Could not get that car turned in. So, and here comes the 09 of Derek DeBoer. And he is flying right now. Oh yeah, Chris is way off the pace. He is way off the pace. I think he's feeling something amiss with that car.
Yeah,
he may have to dive for the pits if he feels it's unsafe. There's a long time to go in this race yet.
Well, now all the driver changes completed. Some of the teams making the 1 tire change. Lots more to come when we come back to Utah.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Nissan. Innovation that excites. And by Borla. We build excitement. The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Ford. Go further. By Replay XD. Life's in HD. Replay it. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
Welcome back, everybody, and some serious excitement building here in the overall battle for the lead in SprintX as Whitmer feeling the heat. Michael Lewis in the Porsche starting to close it up. And here we go. Lewis is closing in, Jeff, and Preston Calvert after the issues with that fire early. He's got a smile on his face.
You sure do have a smile on your face, and kind of rare to see after yesterday, but how many mathematicians do you have here doing the math to see if Lewis can run him down?
Well, we've been calculating over and over again. It looks like there's a possibility, so we're hopeful. We're hopeful that he might be able to track him down. So.
How does a team recover from what happened yesterday to come back here and now fighting for the win here in SprintX?
You know, we talked a lot about it yesterday. We were most happy that our driver was okay, getting out of the car, and we slept on it and made some plans going forward to try to recover and replace the car, and came to the track determined to have a better day. And so we're going to try to see if we can make that happen today.
Well, so far so good. And there's about 7 guys all sitting here with calculators trying to see if they can work this out.
And he can see Kuno. If he needed any added incentive, he can see it right there as he heads down at the hairpin. Clears the 07 machine of Chris Wilson.
Chris gave him tons of room. You could even see Lewis was able to swing over to the right just a little bit to open that radius up a bit more into Blackrock. Chris, great track awareness, knew the game here. Here we go into Witchcraft. Love this fast turn, feeds him right into the attitudes.
I think this is going to come down to the very last lap. Going to be completion of this lap plus 2 more. Stefan Pfeiffer there in the whole Calvert Dynamics group looking on. Andrew Aquilani to screen left.
Phoenix Performance very involved in this Calvert Dynamics program, and they were just gutted when that 77 burned yesterday. This is exactly the salve they need here. Nothing gets a racer back in the groove than a battle for a win.
This would be a fantastic story, not to take anything away from the Mills Racing team and Kuno Whitmer, who's driving right now, but you know, to burn a race car down, come back, regroup, and put in such a strong performance. I mean, Preston was on fire there at the start. He was looking for the lead. He's got young Michael Lewis now, going to do everything he can to chase down Kuno Whitmer. So Kuno's not going to see the white flag this time by because of the clock. You can see over 2 minutes to go. But next time by should be the white flag. So 2 laps in this race for Michael Lewis to try and chase him down.
And Whitmer found a little something. He just got underneath 53 at a 152.7, about at 152.8. Lewis still quicker, Cal, by over a second, but Kuno is stemming the flow a little bit.
He has, and I think some of that reason is because Michael Lewis has lost a little bit of his ultimate pace there. He's now running 51, mid-51s versus low to mid-50s, and that is really helping Kuno Whitmer, because if Lewis was on the same pace, he would have caught Kuno Whitmer on this lap. So maybe Kuno can hang on. You can see him there driving the wheels right into the dust there, trying to just maximize the radius there and carry as much speed as he possibly can.
Absolutely. Remember, at the stop, the Lewis team, Calvert Dynamics, did not do anything in terms of changing tires, just did some pressure adjustments. But if Lewis is just out there pounding these tires, and Cal, this race started right before noon, it's just getting hotter out there. You can see the heat haze building, the sun's pounding down on the track. They didn't get those pressures just right for the heat of this part of the race and the pressure that Michael's heaping on him here. That may be part of the reason.
Yeah, for sure. It's gone from hot to Africa hot here in the last hour. I mean, really tough conditions, and Michael's going to be a pretty poop boy here by the end of the GT race. You run a couple of long races here, and he is really close. Look at this. You can see the time on the clock. They'll see the white flag. And if the pace had been a little bit lighter, maybe Kuno would be looking for a checkered flag this time by, but it's all about 60 minutes on the board. You've got to try and get through that and hang on. This is tight. We said could be a last lap shootout. Is setting up nicely.
Here we go. White flag gonna fly. As we come by, there's the crew. They are anxious. And look at how close it is. Just down to car lengths now, under a second, 0.7 of a second, 3 miles to go, 15 turns, Cal. The battle for the lead and the win is on.
Well, that BMW's got a big rear wing, and I think that rear wing is going to get even wider when they get into some of those braking zones, because Lewis is there. If he can get good rhythm through this section, Blackrock hairpin could be the opportunity. Can he get through this little kink here without having to lift? He tucks it to the inside. He's got speed. He's coming on Kuno Whitmer. Here he comes, Michael Lewis.
pinches it to the inside. Kuno covers and almost takes him to the dirt. So Lewis pops to the outside. Cal, can he ramp the outside corner? I don't think Kuno's going to let that happen. He will put
does
that
the
car,
undercut.
no,
Lewis has got to the inside. He's cleared him. Lewis takes the lead.
Oh, the over-under. That was how you do it right there. Does Kuno have anything left to be able to fight back?
Wow, you see the celebration there by the Calvert Dynamics group. Michael Lewis, what a move. Kuno really aggressive. I said he was going to get wide. He certainly did that. Michael Lewis, great racecraft there and not over-forcing the issue, getting into the dirt, recovered nicely, and did the undercut.
Now Lewis just has to be precise, hit every mark clean, don't overrun a corner at all here. What a comeback story this will be for this team, a Phoenix performance from the ashes here, and it says, what a story this could be.
Well, he's just got a few corners now to hang on to, but he's got the car, he's got the pace. Kuno's been struggling since he's got in the car because the pace was never there for Kuno Whitmer. He did everything he could in terms of defending that race lead, but Michael Lewis would not be denied.
One last turn, he's in it. It's called release. He is on the front straight, and Calvert Dynamics, what a story. Curb record, Circle Porsche, Discount Tire, and Michael Lewis takes over after Calvert himself, Preston Calvert, gave it a good start and brings it home. What a story this is here. Whitmer second, Safronis will be third, Estella in the M1 GT Audi fourth, and unfortunately the problems for that Audi that was on pole. Here across the line comes the 07 of Chris Wilson, and of course they had that long stop, but he'll be happy for this one to be over. But behind him comes your winner, coming out of the last turn now, the 09 Derek DeBoer in GTS is coming up and is going to take the win. So third round of the SprintX Championship is complete. When we come back to Utah, we'll have our call of round 4.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by KTM Expo and by the Bob Bondurant School of High Performance Driving, official driving school of the Pirelli World Challenge Championships.
Welcome back, everybody. Lights out in the pace car. We are ready to go racing round 4, SprintX, here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix at Utah Motorsports Campus, presented by EnergySolutions. A great high shot showing that VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, those last two corners, and Cal lining up onto the straight. Great formation here. Watch for the green flag, and we are racing, and it looks like Lewis getting the jump from the inside on that beautiful Porsche of James Safronis.
That's the perfect start there by Michael Lewis. James Safronis goes with him, but you know Kuno's going to be really aggressive down here into turn 1. Look for that BMW now on the outside. He slices to the inside, just over the nose of that Audi.
Boy, I thought he was going to thread the needle and squeeze it in underneath Safronis. Couldn't quite get it done, but a beautiful move by Kuno Whitmer. But already up front, Lewis, 2, 3, 4 car lengths.
Yeah, very impressive start here, but James had a really steady run here yesterday, laying down that second fastest lap. Michael's obviously coming off. He's had track time here today, just finished the race about 90 minutes ago in the 4th position, so he knows the car, he knows the track, he knows the conditions, and everyone else has got to try and find their rhythm quickly as he disappears a little bit.
And Kuno Whitmer attacking already on James Safronis, and then Estella in that M1 GT Audi sitting right behind us here. So, of course, there were some of the teams, both in GT and in the GTS category here. Let's check in with Jeff Lepper about what happened and what may have been done for those cars. Jeff?
Well, Kuno Whitmer's BMW, they changed the right front tire yesterday, and that really affected the handling and balance on that car. Ultimately, they finished in 2nd place. The same for Max Riddle and Chris Wilson from the Racers Group Aston Martin. They didn't know what happened. They finally found a slightly bent toe link on the front of that Aston Martin. They got it fixed. And Harry Gottsecker, Parker Chase making their debut in SprintX with that Performance Racing Group Janetta. It's a little bit of strategy here as Harry Gottsecker, because of an incident in the sprint race, is on probation. So they're going to do the race here being on probation, so he won't be on probation come Sonoma and Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
So, taking advantage of opportunity, and plus, Cal, that's just additional track time. And for these young guns, I mean, they're 15 years old, and I'll tell you what, it's just track time in these Janettas. That's exactly what they needed anyway.
When we talk about strategy, there's strategy there in terms of being on probation and getting it knocked out. I like the way they're thinking.
Absolutely, and of course there you look at the GTS category. Scott Heckert leading in that red Sin R1 GT4 machine, one of the prettier cars you're ever going to see racing out there, that prototypical looking machine. And then yesterday's GTS winner, now in the hands of the always quick Derek DeBoer, slots into second.
Yeah, Chris Wilson fading there a little bit. We thought that car would be quicker. It was very quick at the end of the race just a few hours ago with Max Riddle, but he looked to be looking for air immediately there, going to the middle of the road.
Well, it is toasty out there as well, and one of the things Chris is very, very aware of, he's got great racecraft, and you almost wonder if he's also thinking, you know what, this pace here, a little bit too early to go hard on these tires. But look at this, not really the case for Parker Chase. He's racy.
Yeah, he's a fine young talent, as is Harry Gottsacker, his teammate, so they're going to try and dig deep here, see if they can make an impression on their debut in SprintX. But look at this, Michael Lewis has taken off a little bit, but certainly Kuno was trying to get around James Safronis.
And I think Kuno, his concern here watching Lewis get away is that he wants to not have him get too far out, so that when they do the driver change and the like, his co-driver doesn't have to try and run too hard and chase down somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, Preston Calvert's been doing a nice job here this weekend. He will co-drive with Michael Lewis in that number 98 machine that leads. And you talked about David Ostella. He's hanging in there tough as well. So if he turns it over with Dion Van Malka finishing, who knows what can happen.
And by rule, it's kind of interesting how they have to put together the driver pairings. It's based on the FIA driver rankings, where Platinum is the quote-unquote fastest driver, Gold, then the amateur driver category, as Parker Chase ramping around the outside of Chris Wilson.
Well, that was a nice move there.
Wasn't it?
Good racing we're looking at. Talked about a relatively small field, but we've seen some sensational racing over the first 3 rounds of the championships, and it continues today.
That's one of the things, you know, this is now our 4th race, and because of what I explained earlier about how we have to schedule these in the middle of weekends, and it's people in championships just aren't going to risk the cars, we haven't had big entries, but we've had great racing, and the paddock generally seems to be pretty excited about this. But look at this move.
There's the move, up and over the curb. Chris gives him a little bit of room. It was clean.
It was clean. Then Chris kind of looked down the inside again, but just didn't have the response he needed. But look at this, Derek DeBoer, after Heckert had gone out to a little bit of a lead here, Cal, Derek DeBoer has trimmed that back a bit. Oh, and Whitmer has been able to sneak through on James Safronis. We're going to have a look at it here, show you how it happened, Cal.
Here we go. Down into the Black Rock hairpin. Had to take it in really deep. There wasn't a lot of room there. James knew he was coming. Didn't give him much of a window, but Kuno had to make it happen. Now on this next lap, not this one, because obviously that was traffic affected. We'll have to see what sort of pace Kuno has in comparison with Michael Lewis, who's now stretched that lead up to just over 9 seconds.
But you can see, though, that Safronis was entertaining the over-under here. He turned hard to the left there, thinking if I could just get some throttle here. But the problem was he also had to be mindful because Ostella was really looking to jump on that opportunity as well. But, by the way, Whitmer immediately down to the low 150s, turned to 150.1. Hasn't cracked that 149 mark yet, though, as we continue to watch this battle. And Derek DeBoer pops to the inside. One thing you know about Derek, if you watched his GTS race at Road America, the man is a demon on the brakes.
He really is. He can really pile it in there, and that was a very impressive move on Scott Heckert, who's been brilliantly quick here this weekend.
Well, it's about to get interesting. When we come back, it is time for pit stops. Stay with us.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is brought to you by Eibach, the world leader in high-performance suspension, by Maserati, and by AFE Power, advanced engineering, proven performance.
Welcome back to the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix at Utah Motorsports Campus, presented by EnergySolutions. And we've been watching some of that strategy play out here. Teams getting ready, though, for pit stops. And now the strategy takes a backseat to execution when these teams start coming in.
I think one car that may be hitting pit lane pretty soon would be in the number 63. As I say that, in comes Chris Wilson. Okay, Max Riddle has been very fast here this weekend, so a little bit of a strategy play here. We'll have to see how the Delta plays out. And again, it's about 25-second time loss by coming down the pit lane at 35 miles an hour. Then there's a mandatory 60 seconds they want to allow the driver change to be done safely. During that 60 seconds, you can change a tire or more if you choose to do so. So if you've got an imbalance in the car, you may see that happen as Max Riddle just jumps over the wall. Looks like TRG are just doing tire pressures only.
Jeff?
Well, Max Riddle opens the door. Chris Wilson. Now, the Racers Group, a long time endurance racing. They know how to complete these pit stops. Max Riddle, you said it before, he's a little bit quicker here this weekend than his driver coach, the old man, Chris Wilson. But he's buckling the belts right now, getting the water lines hooked up, making sure everything is great. They're cleaning the windows and checking air pressures. They can get this Aston Martin back underway.
Well, and Max has just been getting a lot more time in the car this weekend, obviously, and he's dealt with some of these issues that they've had with the setup and the suspension on the car, and I think that might be part of the reason. And you called it, Cal, the Audi is in.
Yeah, James Burke, who put this car on the pole position in qualifying here, is going to be jumping aboard. 34-year-old Englishman has got a lot of talent, and he's going to be jumping in here. So he's got a big delta to try and make up in terms of the gap between him and the leaders right now, but he's going to be fast, and then we're going to be looking at that gap, I think, kind of winding down. James Burke's going to have to chase down these leaders.
What's happening, Jeff?
Well, that's exactly right there, Cal. David Askew, the idea was to get him out of the car as quickly as possible. He did not even get into this car yesterday as they turned it off, and the car would not refire due to it being vapor locked because of the heat here. So they left the car running, still monitoring those temperatures. They don't want the car to shut off.
That's a smart move, obviously adjusting for the problem here, but boy, that driver change was done, and unless they're doing a tire on the other side of the car, there's an issue, Cal.
Well, no, they've got to wait 60 seconds, remember, so even if the driver change is done quickly, they can't just release him, otherwise it'd be underneath the 85-second mark, I would
got
believe.
That stopwatch is what was holding him up there, nothing else. The Ginetta's in, Jeff.
Well, Parker Chase and Harry Gottsacker coming in for the pit stop. They haven't done this before. Stuart Robinson told me they practiced for about 5 minutes with the 40-minute break between the GTS race and the SprintX race to get this car ready. So they're doing a good job so far. They do have that 1-minute pit delta, but they're trying to hook everything up right now. They forgot to remove the pad from the back of Harry Gottsacker's car, so I'm not sure if he's going to be comfortable in that seat. We'll have to see how it goes.
Oh, that's a big part of pace in a race car is comfort by the driver. But you got to be believing here there's not going to be an issue here, and Harry is just going to go for it. So we've got a few of the key stops are done, and here we go. The leader's in, Jeff.
That's right. Michael Lewis brings this car down with a 16-second lead. Right behind him, Michael Mills is on pit lane with Kuno Whitmer, that Mills Racing BMW. So Preston Calvert climbing into this car as Michael Lewis gets out, readjusts the belts for Preston Calvert. They got to hit these pit lane delta with Nick Whitmer and Michael Mills as well. At Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mills' team was on it by 0.04 of a second on that pit lane delta. We'll see what the gap is when these cars get back on the track.
And they are in too. Whitmer is in, turning it over to Mills. This could be a drag race here out of pit lane. Could tell it, Cal.
They're about 35 to 40 seconds into this pit stop right now, so far so good. Even though the driver change is continuing to happen, they can't afford to waste too much more time. Should be about 15 more seconds on the 98 machine, otherwise there's some kind of delay as we're focused right now on the Mills machine.
And you got to believe the Mills machine's not going to change a tire on that car after what happened yesterday here. A little struggle there, though.
60-second mark is right now on the 98 car, so they should be moving right now if they've got a good, efficient pit stop. I could just hear him going.
Yep. It seemed just a couple of ticks long.
That was definitely, they lost 10 seconds right there.
Now, so if the Mills team can get it done, and they are out and on. Boy, you're right. They made up a ton of time on that stop.
Yeah, 16 seconds between Michael Lewis and Kuno Whitmer on the lap before they made their pit stops, and it's a lot tighter than that as Michael Mills now goes after and chases Preston Calvert.
All right, everybody has cycled through the pits. We're going to step away for just a moment, but when we come back, we'll take you to the finish of SprintX.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by VP Racing Fuels. Our passion is your performance. And by Kia Optima, not your average midsize sedan.
Welcome back, everybody. Closing in on the finish of this fourth round of the SprintX Championship. And, of course, this is Michael Lewis's GT category race car. Jeff, you a little bit nervous watching this battle?
Well, Michael Lewis, he's right here waiting for the interview, and he's looking up, looking at the monitors. You're on the edge here, but great run for you as well.
And a big spin by Mills. A big spin by Mills, Jeff. Mills, it got away from him coming through the attitudes as he was attacking on the back of Preston Calvert. This might be the gift that Lewis needed, and Dion is through. So, Jeff, right now, Lewis's grin's going to get a lot bigger, I would think.
Yeah, you said your grin's going to get a lot bigger now. It was a mistake there by Michael Mills, but tell us how that opening stint was for you.
Opening stint was excellent. Tried to make a huge gap for Preston Calvert here in this Discount Tire Curb Records and Circle Porsche of Long Beach Porsche 911 GT3R. Right now, Preston is doing an amazing job keeping that BMW at bay, and he's doing some great lap times. I'm just glancing over at that computer just to keep an eye on what he's doing, and we're just telling him to be calm, be cool in his apexes, and he's doing just that. So we'll see how he fares here, but some good racing here in SprintX.
Here's another look at it, Cal.
There he is. He's just a little out of sync there. Tries to hang with it.
Almost saved it.
Yeah, but watch this. It takes him a few seconds to get going, and as we mentioned, Dion van Moltke was about 15 seconds back, and before Michael can get back on track and get some fire in the belly, Dion was through and grabs the second position. But Preston Calvert, there he is. There's the gap. Basically setting it up. If Preston then runs exactly the same lap times as he's done on the last 2 or 3 laps, Dion does the same. Preston should win this by about a second, but it's going to be tight.
Yeah. And Van Moltke, though, but you know, there's the other side of it. You were talking about Preston and the mind game, seeing him in the mirror, but Van Moltke now can see him growing ever bigger in the windscreen, and we'll see what Dion can find. His last lap was a 52.7, and we've seen that car run a low 51.
I think that's Dion's fastest lap possibly at 52.7, so he's obviously given it his all. Preston there a little bit cleaner through there where he's really eating the curb and trying to charge when Michael Mills was chasing him, so he's definitely being cool here, hitting his marks, not trying to make any mistakes. Don't throw it away, certainly, but don't give up so much in terms of lap time that you're going to allow Dion to catch you on the last lap.
Here we go into clubhouse. Here, grab a little bit of throttle now, setting up for wind up. There's a look at it. Wind up and now into release. Bank turn here.
There you see the gap
That's
between the two leaders. There's the margin as Preston now hits the stripe. And again, if he can do just a low 55 and continue to do it as we see the white flag, that should be good. 54.2.
Nice
he has
lap.
responded. That is great stuff by Preston Calvert. That should be enough, barring any mistakes on this last lap.
52.8 by Van Moltke. The margin almost exactly 5 seconds with 1 lap to go. And Michael Mills still sitting in third, but a number of seconds back here. But he's just a little over 11 seconds off of Dion van Moltke for Mike Mills. You see him in the background, so he's not giving up on it. He ran a pretty decent lap too. Riddle has a 28-second margin over Alexandrides, but boy, Harry Gottsacker has trimmed that margin down here. He just ran a lap 2 seconds quicker than Alexandrides, but he's running out of time.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to catch him.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, if you thought it was an emotional victory here yesterday for Michael Lewis and Preston Calvert, this was going to be unbelievable.
Well, Michael Lewis, a consummate race car driver at the pro level, brought it home today. You have got a true gentleman driver, and I mean it in the 2 best senses of the word here. If he holds on and makes this one happen, I think that whole pit lane could erupt in tears in that cruise paddock.
Just keep it clean. Hit your marks. Don't get over those curbs. Don't unsettle the car too much.
Gentle on the throttle.
I mean, the way he dealt with traffic, Greg, was superb.
It was.
Just a standout performance for Preston Calvert. Again, we talk about the disappointment here. Here's Michael Lewis. There's Joe Aquilani, screen right.
Yeah, we talked about Jason Alexandrides having maybe the breakout drive yesterday. I think Preston Calvert has responded in kind. Here we go into release for the last time and talk about a release for this team and some relief for that pit right now. Onto the front straight he comes, a sweep. What a story by Calvert Dynamics here in rounds 3 and 4 now of the SprintX Championship. Dion van Moltke trimming that margin down at the end. Actually, Calvert ran a lap quicker than Van Moltke. What a tremendous story. Look at the celebrations down there by this crew. Max Riddle is going to hold on, barring any unforeseen last-minute catastrophe over Jason Alexandrides, but another 1-2 for the TRG team. And look at the celebrations in that pit for Calvert Dynamics, Cal, and here comes Riddle. Here he comes once again through that final turn onto the front straight, and the checkered flag awaits. The Racers Group, Adobe Road Winery, LaSalle Solutions, Aston Martin comes through, and brings it home. And even Derek DeBoer is cheering that one. They are truly a team with those two cars here. They do so much as one unit here. So impressive stuff. Alexandrides in his second, and Harry Gottsacker got down to within 4 seconds. We'll be right back to Utah.
The Pirelli World Challenge on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Lincoln Tech, America's Technical Institute. By TireRack.com, revolutionizing tire buying since 1979. And by Motor Trend On Demand. Visit MotorTrendOnDemand.com. Start your free trial today.
Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus, where the 4th round of SprintX has come to a conclusion. Another great story unfolding involving this team, this driver, and the guy who started the car, Preston Calvert, crawling out, and Jeff Lepper is waiting for him. As soon as Preston gets that helmet off, we will wait for him. But an absolutely remarkable run by Preston here to preserve this win. And he's out and he's smiling. Jeff Lepper, that's a happy camper.
It sure is. And Preston Calvert, what a feeling for you and this team. Everything you've had to gone through here this weekend to be able to cross that finish line in your car with your team, Calvert Dynamics.
Unbelievable feeling. You know, Michael gave me the car with a very large lead due to his unbelievable driving ability, and we made a decent exchange, not a great one, and I managed to bring it home. There was a spin behind me that helped me, but he just had to keep it going. The tires are really going away on this hot track, so it was a real challenge. I want to thank Phoenix Performance. I want to thank my wife, Meg Guerin Calvert, and definitely want to thank all of the sponsors that we have for Michael's car.
And you're driving there at the end to maintain that lap and maintain those paces. Were they talking to you the whole way through?
Well, they were giving me a little encouragement along the way. They were trying to help make sure that I knew that I needed to keep my pace up, but I knew that he wasn't far behind me, so I needed to keep going.
Well, they say the first win's the hardest. Now Preston Calvert, 2-time winner.
Yeah, how fantastic is that? And don't worry, Preston, you didn't get the sponsors on the car mentioned by name, but Michael did it twice for you, so they got that covered. Here are the results. Preston Calvert and Michael Lewis, and again, what a great story. Dion Vomolka, boy, he was hustling it after Ostella gave him a good ride. And Michael Mills, who knows but for that spin.
Yeah, it was going to be tight. I mean, he was definitely digging deep there. Preston was hanging tough. You would think that Mills may have just nipped him at the end, but it's not over till it's over. He made that little mistake, cost him dearly. Another podium run now. It'll be big points for him. He should continue to lead the Sportsman Challenge.
Well, let's get back down to Jeff with our winners in GTS.
Well, Chris Wilson, your guys' third win here with Max Riddle and Max, the cool suit not hooked up. What a drive.
Yeah, it was pretty hot out there, but I just stayed in it, and one of the key things to endurance racing is to never give up, and Chris and I didn't give up today. We didn't have the fastest car, but we didn't give up, and you see it paid off, and we got this win, and I couldn't be happier. I have to thank the guys at TRG, Aston Martin Racing, Kevin Buckler, my dad Dave, Chris, and my wife Megan.
Well, Chris Wilson, you've coached him along, and to see this has got to be great for you as well.
Yeah, like we talked about before, teaching him. He's better than me. Now he can teach me a few things. It's all good.
He's got to work on the cool suit hookup, and other than that, we're okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he's just, as he said, just stuck with it, Cal, and was able to bring that home over Alexandrides, and of course Harry Gottsacker putting in a good run at the end too to close it up. Just not quite close enough. And let's take a look at the results in the GTS category. There you see again a sweep of the front two spots by the Racers group. Different than it was yesterday, just a flip of those cars. And great to see that Performance Motorsports group, Janetta, running this time.
It was, and without the snafu in the pit stop, they could have been a real factor, not only for a better spot, but actually a victory here today. So great job by everyone in the field.
Well, with that, we're going to wrap things up here at Utah. We really appreciate you tuning in and watching. Remember, the final two rounds of the inaugural season of SprintX coming up in a little over a month at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca on the beautiful Monterey Peninsula. Make sure and join us there. For Calvin Fish and Jeff Lepper and our entire crew, I'm Greg Kramer in association with WC Vision. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, your 24-hour home of CBS Sports.